Imagine walking home on a quiet evening, taking the same route you've taken countless times before. You're on the phone with your boyfriend, telling him you'll be home soon. But you never make it. This isn't a scene from a movie, it's the heartbreaking reality of Sarah Everard, a 33-year-old woman whose life was tragically cut short in March 2021. Sarah's story is not just about a crime, it's about the fear that women face every day, the systems that fail to protect them, and the collective outrage that can spark a movement. On the evening of March 3, 2021, Sarah left a friend's house in Clapham, South London. It was around 9 p.m., and she was walking home to Brixton, a journey that should have taken her about 50 minutes. She was last seen on CCTV footage at around 9:30 p.m., walking along the A205, a well-lit and busy road. She was on the phone with her boyfriend, telling him she was almost home. But Sarah never arrived. When her boyfriend realized she was missing, he immediately reported her disappearance to the police. What began as a missing persons case soon turned into a high-profile investigation that would uncover a chilling truth. Sarah's death sparked nationwide protests and a global conversation about women's safety. Vigils were held across the UK, with thousands of women sharing their own experiences of harassment and violence. This is the story of Sarah Everard, a young woman whose life was taken too soon, a family's search for answers, and a community's fight for justice. It's a tale of fear, courage, and the resilience of the human spirit. Join us as we uncover the mystery of Sarah's disappearance and explore the lessons we can all learn from her story. On the evening of March 3, 2021, Sarah Everard left a friend's house in Clapham, South London. It was around 9 p.m., and she was walking home to Brixton, a journey that should have taken her about 50 minutes. Sarah was last seen on CCTV footage at around 9:30 p.m., walking along the A205, a well-lit and busy road. She was on the phone with her boyfriend, telling him she was almost home. But Sarah never arrived. When her boyfriend realized she was missing, he immediately reported her disappearance to the police. "I knew something was wrong," he later said. Sarah was always punctual and would never just disappear without letting someone know. The Metropolitan Police launched a massive search operation, combing through CCTV footage, interviewing witnesses, and tracking Sarah's last known movements. The footage showed her walking alone, but there was no sign of her after a certain point. As the days passed, the investigation took a dark turn. Police discovered that Sarah's phone had stopped transmitting signals shortly after she was last seen. This suggested that she had been taken against her will. The breakthrough came when investigators traced a rental car that had been in the area at the time of Sarah's disappearance. The car was linked to Wayne Couzens, a serving police officer with the Metropolitan Police. On March 9, 2021, Couzens was arrested at his home in Kent. During a search of his property, police found evidence linking him to Sarah's disappearance, including her remains in a wooded area near Ashford, Kent. Sarah's disappearance left her family and friends in shock. Where had she gone? And who could have taken her? The answers would soon reveal a dark and disturbing truth. The Metropolitan Police launched a massive search operation the morning after Sarah Everard was reported missing. They began by reviewing CCTV footage from the area where she was last seen. The footage showed Sarah walking along the A205, a well-lit and busy road, but there was no sign of her after a certain point. "We knew something was wrong," one of the investigating officers said. "If she had continued walking, we would have seen her on the cameras." But there was nothing. The police also interviewed Sarah's friends, family, and anyone who might have seen her that night. They discovered that Sarah had been on the phone with her boyfriend just before she disappeared, telling him she was almost home. As the days passed, the investigation took a dark turn. Police discovered that Sarah's phone had stopped transmitting signals shortly after she was last seen. This suggested that she had been taken against her will. The breakthrough came when investigators traced a rental car that had been in the area at the time of Sarah's disappearance. The car was linked to Wayne Couzens, a serving police officer with the Metropolitan Police. Couzens was brought in for questioning, but he denied any involvement in Sarah's disappearance. "I haven't seen her," he claimed. "I don't know anything about this." However, the evidence told a different story. Police found traces of Sarah's DNA in Couzens' car, and his movements that night matched the timeline of her disappearance. On March 9, 2021, Couzens was arrested at his home in Kent. During a search of his property, police found evidence linking him to Sarah's disappearance, including her remains in a wooded area near Ashford, Kent. On March 9, 2021, the investigation into Sarah Everard's disappearance took a dramatic turn. Police arrested Wayne Couzens, a serving police officer with the Metropolitan Police, at his home in Kent. The arrest came after investigators traced a rental car that had been in the area at the time of Sarah's disappearance. The car was linked to Couzens, and further evidence, including traces of Sarah's DNA, was found inside. During a search of Couzens' property, police discovered more incriminating evidence. In a wooded area near Ashford, Kent, they found Sarah's remains. The discovery confirmed the worst fears of her family and friends. Couzens was charged with kidnapping and murder. The news sent shockwaves across the UK. How could a police officer, someone sworn to protect the public, commit such a heinous crime? "It was a betrayal of everything the police stand for," one of the investigators said. "We were all in shock." Couzens' arrest also raised serious questions about the Metropolitan Police. How had he been allowed to serve despite his troubling history? What steps could be taken to ensure that such a tragedy never happened again? As the investigation continued, more details about Couzens' past emerged. He had a history of inappropriate behavior, including allegations of indecent exposure. Despite these red flags, he had been allowed to continue serving as a police officer. The arrest marked a turning point in the case, but it was only the beginning of a long and painful journey for Sarah's family and friends. They would soon face the difficult task of seeking justice for Sarah and ensuring that her story would not be forgotten. The trial of Wayne Couzens began in July 2021, and it was a case that gripped the nation. Couzens, a serving police officer, stood accused of kidnapping, raping, and murdering Sarah Everard. From the outset, Couzens pleaded guilty to all charges. The court heard chilling details about the crime. On the night of Sarah's disappearance, Couzens had used his police ID and handcuffs to falsely arrest her. He claimed she had violated COVID-19 restrictions, a lie that allowed him to gain her trust. Sarah was forced into his car, where she was driven to a remote location. There, Couzens raped and murdered her before burning her body and disposing of the remains. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence against Couzens, including CCTV footage, forensic evidence, and his own confession. The court also heard about his troubling history, including allegations of indecent exposure that had been ignored by his superiors. This was a premeditated and brutal crime, the prosecutor said. Couzens abused his position of trust to commit an unspeakable act of violence. In September 2021, Couzens was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It was the first time in UK history that a police officer had received such a sentence. For Sarah's family, the verdict was little consolation. "No punishment can bring her back," her mother said. "We just hope that her story will serve as a warning to others." The trial marked the end of a long and painful journey for Sarah's family and friends. But it also sparked a nationwide conversation about women's safety and the need for accountability in law enforcement. The murder of Sarah Everard sent shockwaves across the UK and beyond. Her death sparked nationwide protests and a global conversation about women's safety. In the days following her disappearance, vigils were held across the country. Thousands of women gathered to share their own experiences of harassment and violence, turning Sarah's story into a symbol of the fear that women face every day. "Sarah could have been any of us," one protester said. "We're tired of feeling unsafe in our own neighborhoods." The case also raised serious questions about the Metropolitan Police. How had Wayne Couzens, a serving police officer with a history of inappropriate behavior, been allowed to serve? What steps could be taken to ensure that such a tragedy never happened again? In response to the public outcry, the UK government launched a review of policing practices and announced new measures to improve women's safety. These included better street lighting, increased funding for support services, and stricter vetting of police officers. Sarah's family launched a foundation in her name to raise awareness about violence against women and support victims. "We don't want another family to go through what we've been through," her mother said. "We want to make sure that young people are aware of the dangers out there and know how to protect themselves." The aftermath of Sarah's murder was a time of grief, reflection, and action. Her story became a rallying cry for change, inspiring people around the world to demand a safer, more just society. Sarah's legacy lives on through the countless lives she has touched and the changes her story has inspired. Her memory serves as a reminder that we must all work together to create a world where everyone feels safe and valued. Sarah Everard's story is a tragic reminder of the dangers that women face every day. It's a call to action for all of us to be vigilant, to look out for one another, and to demand accountability from those in power. If this story moved you, like this video to show your support. Your likes help us raise awareness about important issues like women's safety and justice. We also want to hear from you. Comment below with your thoughts. What do you think can be done to make our streets safer for women? Have you or someone you know experienced something similar? Sharing your stories can help others feel less alone and inspire meaningful change. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories that matter. By subscribing, you'll stay updated on our latest videos and join a community of people who care about justice and safety. Sarah's family has turned their grief into action by launching a foundation in her name. You can support their efforts by spreading awareness, donating, or volunteering. Together, we can honor Sarah's memory and ensure that her story inspires positive change. Let's make a promise to ourselves and to each other: we will not look away. We will stand up for what's right, protect those in need, and build a world where everyone feels safe and valued. Thank you for watching. If you found this video important, please share it with your friends and family. Let's keep the conversation going and work towards a brighter, safer future.